Constructing your life is about much more than just building a bank account. Each week, join real estate entrepreneur and mindset coach Austin Linney as he interviews guests who are constructing their dream lives and impacting the world around them on a daily basis. If you're an entrepreneur or wanting to start a business, or you just want to hear motivating stories of how others have overcome the odds, you are in the right place. And now for your host, Austin Linney.
Guys, welcome back to Construct Your Life. This is Austin Linney here. We're going to take two on this one. But he didn't get too far into a story, but I have the honor of having Brian in the house. How you doing, my man?
I'm great, bro. I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Good, man. So, what I like to do with my guests is let them tell their story. I already got to hear a brief part of it, so we'll kick that back up again. But yeah, man, start where you want to.
Cool. Well, second edition always should be more efficient, right? I'm a New Jersey guy. I grew up just outside of New York City. I'm a father of two young kids. I've been married for 14 and a half years. My story, I think the interesting part of my story starts in my mid-30s. I went to all boys Catholic high school, basketball player, athlete, went to college to play basketball on a scholarship, followed a lot of the guys that were on my team into their majors, which were business and economics. All my friends that were older in high school were all, graduating and going into Wall Street training programs just because of where we lived. It was the thing to do in the late 90s. And so I did the same, forewent a potential career of going to play basketball in Europe, and decided to get my life started. And life happened to me real quick. And it was amazing, achieved a lot of professional success in my early, mid, and late 20s. Got married in my late 20s. I think I was 29 or 30 or so, and lived the prototypical Wall Street life. And what I mean by that is, made great money, worked my butt off. But outside of the office, I kind of looked like your normal Wall Street guy. Had very pedestrian, but consistent addictions across multiple different categories: alcohol, drugs, gambling, you name it. Sort of thought I was above the law a little bit. Had my high school buddies, had my Wall Street buddies, left my wife sort of on the outside of a lot of our behaviors, a lot of our conversations. And a series of events happened to me in my mid to late 30s, my mid 30s, that sort of changed, the urgency that I felt that I needed to live my life in a different way. And it started with my mom getting sick, who ultimately passed away from ALS, which is ultimately a deadly neurological disease. The last portion of her life was pretty terrible, and I dealt with it the same way I dealt with every other traumatic or stressful occurrence in my life, which was I sedated, I disconnected, I avoided. So physically, I was always present, very good at physically showing up. You're not going to show up much more than me. But I was really good at stuffing emotions down, not sharing, not communicating very well. And so lived the last few months of her life, drunk, stoned, whatever, every day. And my wife took notice. She had already known sort of, what was going on with me and our relationship. And this was something that sort of just was a tipping point for us. The other thing that happened, during that time was my son, who was 5 at the time. He's now 12. He was into Legos. He asked me to get down on the ground with him and put together some Legos. And I couldn't physically, Austin, get on the ground and stay on the ground with him. I was in pain too much. My knees hurt. My ankles would bother me. I had to get up and I had to get back on the couch. And in that moment, I kind of realized that I told myself this concocted, ridiculous story. Again, I'm an ex-athlete. I'm 6'6". I'm a big guy. I had this 1 hour commute in and out of the city every day from New Jersey. I sat at a desk for 12 hours plus a day. It was a very sedentary culture. It was a very high pressure environment. My mirror was the guy making $2, $3, $4, $5 million bucks a year across the desk, who was, in air quotes, incredibly successful, but was either divorced, near divorce, didn't want to give his wife half his money, got up from the chair and limped his first 10 steps, back pain, 50 pounds overweight, drank every night, had to go out 3 or 4 nights a week to entertain clients. That was the person that I was chasing after. That was my version of success. And it's not an excuse, but as a young guy in my young to mid 20s, I didn't kind of know any better. I thought this was the life that I was supposed to lead. especially being an ex-athlete. You see a lot of ex-athletes walking around, kind of limping around, looking broken down. I just thought I was destined to be this broken down guy. And shortly after my mom passed away in January of 2015, my wife came to me with effectively an ultimatum. She wasn't walking out the door, but she said, "This isn't what I signed up for. We got 2 young kids. I had a 5-year-old and a 6-month-old. So I'm going to hang around for a little while, but we got to figure this out because this is not how I want my life to be." And that was the start of, a crisis in my life that, I say was dropped at my doorstep, but it really wasn't. I mean, my mom getting sick, I had no control over, but everything that I did in my relationship with my wife, I had total control over. Everything that I did to have my body go from being, in peak physical condition, when I was an athlete, to this broken down version of myself, overweight, beat up, joint pain, was my fault and my doing. And I had never taken responsibility for any of these actions. I had always passed the buck and said, well, this is the cost of doing business. And I started to take a hard look at my life and what I was doing and whether or not I was really, truly happy. And clearly I wasn't. My wife just told me she was considering divorcing me. So that created a crisis in my life where I went to go do something about it. And the first thing I did was I fixed me physically. I got back into shape. I lost weight. I got, I looked good again. I was in again, I keep using the word crisis because that's truly what it felt like, where I felt like if my wife was physically more attracted to me, everything would be better, which it wasn't. But as I started to find some of these new people to follow online, some new things to transfer some of my addictions, my vices from unhealthy ones to healthier ones. Some of these, fitness people, some of the people that I started to pay more attention to, they had positive messages about mindset and belief systems. I didn't know what a belief system was. You couldn't tell a guy from New Jersey who's a Wall Street guy and an athlete what a belief system was. It didn't exist. It didn't exist in our ecosystem. You tried to talk to me about it, I would have laughed you right the hell out of the room. And so slowly started to change my mindset about certain things as I started to keep promises to myself about commitments that I was making to myself, whether it be exercise or I'm going to show up or I'm not going to go get beers with these guys. I'm going to come home to my family. I started to treat myself with more respect. I tried to treat myself with more respect. I started to treat others with more respect, AKA my wife. And really went on this, path, this journey that continues to this day. As you know, we work on this stuff every single day. Joined a men's group 4 years ago, and the guy leading it challenged me to think about doing something different with my life because I expressed that desire. I had changed my body, I'd fixed my marriage, I changed my relationship with my kids, but I was still in this job that, I didn't hate, but I didn't love. And that's a weird spot for a lot of men to be in because it paid the bills. And also more importantly, or just as importantly, I had created this lifestyle around me that was dependent upon me making more money, And so I was in this, kind of quote unquote rat race. And for forever, I kind of thought about, I'm not so sure about wanting to be in this rat race. And he challenged me to start a side hustle because I had started to help people who noticed that I took a bunch of action steps and changed my life. And they started to ask me questions. When you change your life, people start to ask you questions. Hey, what are you doing? And I started to help them. So I reached out to a bunch of people and I said, hey, I don't know exactly what I'm doing, but I'm going to take a shot at this coaching thing. I'm going to do some health coaching. And I thought 10 people, I'd asked 10 people. They're all pretty close to me. I thought 10 were going to laugh at me and 7 said yes. And that was my start. That was my little start a few years ago to my side hustle. And I kind of casually grew it as I kept, going into the city every day and trading bonds and working on Wall Street. And a couple of years ago, we decided to move from the East Coast to the West Coast. And that was a great opportunity for me to cut the cord and rip the Band-Aid off and take on this entrepreneurship game, which is a whole nother level of stress and anxiety and pressure. Mm-hmm. But that's kind of where, my life got pretty interesting. And now it's still very interesting every day. And I love it. And sometimes I wonder what the hell I'm doing and why I'm not just sitting on the desk and trading bonds and collecting a check. Cause that was, pretty easy. And theoretically I'm in the peak earning years of my life right now in that job. And I walked away from it after 20 years. So I'll shut the heck up and we can start talking about something else.
Well, there's a lot there, but one of the things I think is interesting, you said something there, if I was more attractive to my wife, like she would notice and like help working out and stuff. And like, what's interesting, like in my weight loss journey and everything is like, I think that ultimately, like, you can start the weight loss for somebody else, but I think ultimately it's for you and what it does for you personally. But what I think is really interesting, I'm curious if people said the same thing to you. That people have said, like, oh, wow, you look great. But like a lot of people say this instead: man, you look happy. Like, we can tell that you change yourself from the inside out, not the other way around. And I think we live our life a lot from the outside, and we want to change the outside, but we haven't really changed the inside.
Yeah, that's very well said. Yeah, and I did get that a lot. I worked in a, still to this day, right? Like locker rooms. So, a basketball locker rooms, Wall Street is one huge locker room. So it's like pulling teeth to get compliments from guys. They're more likely to give you a bunch of digs before maybe they give you one. But I definitely got from many of my close friends and colleagues some reassurance. Ultimately, after a good bout of ball busting, some reassurance.
There's you can be so happy in leading your life in such a way. And what I think is absolutely hilarious, and I'd be interested to hear your take on this. Now I've had old bosses reach out to me like after like 3 years, and they're like, "Hey man, I'm in this situation, but goddamn, dude, you just been carrying that torch for 3 years. Like, what are you doing?" Right. And that's like ultimately how you became a coach. It wasn't like you were seeking it. It's you said, "Hey, I'm just leading by example. And then now I'm going to show you the path that I took."
Yeah. The sequence of events for me and that I've seen other people go through is you first become a threat, stepping outside of the comfort zone of the tribe. Right. And my tribe was my guys on my desk. And there were some girls, but mostly guys on the desk. And we got chicken parms and we ordered pizza for breakfast when everybody was hungover on Fridays. And if you got, if it was somebody's birthday, there was 50 cupcakes on the desk, and so when you start to say no to those things, it sort of shines a light back on everybody else's life. Like, who do you think you are? Who's this fucking guy? And so, and again, a lot of it is lighthearted and in good humor, but the pressure feels real in the moment. Now I say, all the time, my friends at work truly didn't want me to go back off the reservation and stay out all night and fail, but they certainly spoke that way sometimes, And so truly nobody, at least that cares about you, wants you to fail. But my evolution was, who do you think you are? Why are you doing things differently? Okay, things seem to be working for you. So, we'll just keep quiet and let you do your thing, to ultimately a private conversation of somebody. Hey, I see that every half hour you take those bands from underneath your desk and you do these like pull apart things. And, like my shoulders can kill me all day. Like, does that help? I know that you don't go get, sandwiches with us every day. You go to the salad place. Like, has that helped you, lose? And I know you lost 20 pounds. I know you're playing basketball again for the first time in 10 years. Does it, like, all these things helping you, and so they sort of privately come to you. And then ultimately, I say to people, like, I mentioned like showing up, being a superpower for me. You just wear people down. You're just unwilling to change your life for them. You're unwilling to do it. And you're willing to live your life. People ultimately at least go, well, this freaking Pannuzzo guy, he's not going anywhere. So we might as well just shut the hell up and let him do what he wants to do,
Thank you for describing my last 3 years. I never had somebody put it to me to a T. I couldn't tell you how many messages I got, right? But what's not talked about is in that span from being a threat to being, these guys consistent. A lot of people fall back in because it's really hard to be outside the tribe.
Yeah, for sure. It is. I mean, I have clients, I coach men, right? Their wives give them a hard time. Like, you're working out too much. Why are you cooking separate food? And it's a very threatening place to be for a lot of guys, because I'm doing it for you. What are you talking about? Like, I'm trying to do this so that our marriage is better. Because ultimately, like, guys want to look good, but get deeper. Guys want to look good for connection with their wives, for more sex. They want to look good so that their blood markers are better, so that they're alive in 30 years when they walk their daughter down the aisle. Guy, everyone wants to look good, but that's superficial stuff, and no one ultimately really cares, especially if you're married. I mean, so that threat it feels very real in the moment, and every time, 10 times out of 10.
Family members, big time. Yeah.
Big time. Yeah, for sure. For sure. And the closer they are, the more confusing it can be, at least.
Dude, I had a mental breakdown, dude, when I lost 40 pounds and I went to a wedding and nobody said a goddamn thing about my weight loss. And I had to do an emergency call with my coach. This was like right when I started. And I was like, nobody gives a shit. And he's like, yeah, no shit. They have their own shit going on. And that was like
shit about themselves. Yeah.
That was like my holy shit moment. Right. But what's interesting to me and something I want to ask you as a health coach that I think enough people don't talk about, I formed the theory. I just read a book that confirmed it. And now talking to you, I confirm it 3 times. So now I'm officially going to say it out in public for the first time. Yes. I truly believe that people aren't assholes. Not everybody, but a lot of people aren't assholes and they're not mean. I think they feel like shit.
They do. You are shining a mirror on what it is they're doing. So when I decide not to get chicken parms for lunch on Tuesday, because it's Tuesday and I don't eat a damn chicken parm again.
But physically and mentally, they feel like shit. Because like if I take care of myself as much as I do, which I get a massage a week, I work out every day, I eat good, and I still hurt, how does the person that's not doing that feel? And I just think they're in a bad mood because they feel like shit.
Correct. I've been in a lot of physical pain in my life. I'm about to have a meniscus knee surgery tomorrow. I still deal with it. I've realized that when I have physical pain, I'm a dick. I'm short with my wife. I'm short with my kids. Something that should just be, toys not being picked up, dishes left in the sink, become this crusade against me as a man and a husband and a provider and a father. How could you do this? How could you not be so inconsiderate? It's just fucking toys on the floor, but I place this meaning behind it mostly because I'm not in a good place mentally. Because you ever try to deal with back pain all day? Like every time you breathe, every time you move, something happens. So you can't possibly be in a great mental state. And so, yeah, ultimately I think people, all of their feedback comes from the state that they're in, positive or negative, and a lot of times, like I said, that initial change of leaving the pack, doing something different, you shine a light on what it is they may not be doing. And sometimes that person is very close to you, AKA your spouse.
And you've coached a lot of men, you've coached a lot of successful men in sports and all finance. Is there an overarching theme that you see that they're all dealing with? Like maybe they're different people, they live in different places, but is there an overarching theme that you see? Yeah,
I think most of the time, that's a great question. There are versions of me. I mean, from 7 years ago to 7 minutes ago, because I'm still a tremendous work in progress. We all tend to, try to double and triple down on what's working for us. Usually, at least the guys that I work with, that's usually career. It's usually career. And so we've built up this evidence that what it is we're doing. Here's the tricky part for me is that if my wife didn't come to me in that moment, I don't know when I would have changed, because I had so much evidence to prove that what I was doing was working in a lot of ways. I had a big house, I had a country club, golf membership, cars. We went on nice vacations. I had good friendships. My wife and I were like, we were good. We were okay. We weren't great, but we weren't terrible. We weren't fighting every single day. And so when you have, I know a lot of guys that worked at like Lehman Brothers and Bear Stearns when they went down in 2008. And, a lot of those companies in the financial crisis, you found out that people had 90% of their net worth in their company stock. And it's like, they went from having $10 million in the bank to having 20,000, overnight. And a natural thing to say would be like, how is that possible? How could you possibly be so stupid? But the only reason they had $10 million in the bank is because they were so concentrated for the last 10 years that they turned 50 grand, a $50,000 bonus into $10 million. So my point is that, yeah, that was probably, irresponsible in hindsight, but what got them there was the exact same behavior. And so it's hard sometimes to get people to make changes when aspects of their behavior are successful. And so for a lot of the guys that I work with, a lot of the aspects of their behavior create success. It's not a complete shit show, but if you're honest and take a stock and do an audit, are you nurturing every aspect of your life that ultimately provides to true health and wellness and success? And will one of those aspects that you're neglecting right now become, such a sore on your body that you're not able to then, create success at the office? If your marriage gets so off the rails, good luck trying to make a ton of money at work. If your body physically is in pain, and you can't perform, good luck trying to make a lot of money at the office. And so everyone, in my opinion, comes to this reckoning where it's like, I don't know if what I've been doing and the way I've been doing it has been worth it. There's so many things that are really worth it. But like, if I could change a couple of things, here are the 2 or 3 or 4 things that I would change. And that's usually when they find people like me.
Mm-hmm. And it's interesting because there's, I tell everybody, like, because I've had to blow up my life so many times, there's also some peace in being able to place a stick of dynamite in your life and take what you want and leave the rest. Like when I left, when we got divorced, I lost the one house that we had $100,000 in and the dog and all this other shit. Like, it was actually kind of cool though. Like, cause I realized like I had like 7 boxes to my name and like a bike. And I was like, I'm fucking happy, man. Like
in the moment you felt that way though. In the moment you thought it was
like a couple weeks after, like once I took like a trip, like, so I got in the car and I drove to Austin. Mm-hmm. But I wound up driving to California.
Yeah, you told me that.
Yeah, it's so in that moment,
that those are in different directions.
Well, sometimes the heart just sends you in a direction. But what's interesting is in that moment, when I got out to the desert through outside of Phoenix, headed towards Joshua Tree, something came over me that said like all the falseness and the misalignment that you thought you needed to be happy, like this bullshit. This fucking crap, you can rewrite your story. And that was like the moment for me that I could tell you where I was, the call I was on, like the music I was listening to. Like we have an opportunity. And this is what I tell everybody all the time. This is a super important concept, super important. You're telling me that you had a bad day. I'm telling you that you might've had a bad 30 minutes. Don't blank slate this shit. No. Like, yeah, there's some things that you need to fix, and maybe today wasn't exactly what I wanted to be. But I know that's what's helped me is extreme ownership and attacking the day every day. Like when I wake up in the morning, that day's a fresh day. What I did yesterday, that shit don't matter. Yeah. Like that's just the way I operate. Guys, you know what, man? I have been in this short-term rental game for so long. I think I'm paying the light bills over at Airbnb and HomeAway and those companies. The fees are getting ridiculous. And the only way to do that is to stop building your real estate on somebody else's platform. And my man, Mark Simpson, Book Direct Playbook, the book is coming out. And this is a no-brainer. We got the hotels. The hotels do 50% direct booking on our website because of the tips and tricks that he's taught us with marketing and so on and so on. I've got a preview of this book. It is a game changer. Make sure you check it out, dude. You won't regret keeping more of your money for yourself.
2 things that I was thinking about. I have a question for you, but before I do, I can relate to what you just said. I hear all the time from people, we talk about, their last 7 days in check-ins, we review, this day went off. I was great on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and I just went off the rails on Thursday. I'm like, well, tell me about Thursday. Well, I got up, I got a workout in. I had my usual breakfast, eggs and avocado toast, but great lunch, got a salad for lunch. But we just had we went to happy hour, and then I just ate wings and crap. I'm like, so you had a bad third of the day, Thursday. Well, yeah, because off the rail, I'm like, no, you actually nailed 2/3.
No, do you want off the rails? Yeah. I was up for 9 days straight on methamphetamines and didn't fucking eat. That's off the motherfucking rails. You had a bad hour, bro.
Yeah. So we put a lot of those moments on a pedestal. We put the bad moments on a pedestal, and we discount all the hard work that we put in leading to that. Do you, I was thinking about this while you're talking, because this is where some of my guys are, I feel like, and where I felt like I was before I changed a career. I woke up for 2 straight years, not every day, but a lot, asking myself, I kind of want to do something different, but look at this. Look at what I got. I got a 4,000 square foot house. I got a big ass mortgage. I got 2 kids. I'm not 26 anymore. You know, I'm 38, I'm 39. If I'm not a high yield bond trader, if I'm not a Wall Street guy, if I'm not a guy making a ton of money a year, in air quotes, what am I? How do I possibly replace this? Do you think you would have had more? Do you think you would have had a more difficult time if you had a big family, if you had, things that you felt more tied to as far as like career, and equity built up effectively?
Agreed. So we had 3 houses. So it wasn't like we didn't have anything, didn't have kids. Thank goodness. That was kind of planned because I didn't feel it was going right the last couple of years, and I wasn't going to dive into that. Her dad was basically my dad. Her brother was my best friend. I had this question asked to me, and it was kind of 2 things that kind of sent me on the path. One was when I got sober, I woke up to a lot of things that I had probably numbed myself on. And the issue being is that then I was beating myself up for being drunk our whole marriage, saying that I couldn't leave her because I was,
right.
Now I'm sober. Like, what would they say now? Like, oh, you're sober. Like, go fuck yourself. Right. Like, look at this guy leaving his wife. But my coach said to me, like, when are you going to let yourself off your death sentence? When are you going to parole yourself? So that was the first thing. And then I had a good friend of mine ask me a simple question. He goes, you're 36, you're 37 now. You got 40, 50 more years of your life. Is this where you want to be? And my coach told me this. He said, look, there's a song. It's called Toto, Hold the Line. And he goes, stop being a little bitch. And he's like, listen, the moment that this comes up again, you're never going to not be upset if you just do a reparation just to see, right? You've already balked at it 3 times. Just make the move, take the plunge. And the moment that I said it, like she said it, and then I said, yeah, let's take a separation, I was done. Like in that exact moment, like I already knew the answer, but we were playing a bad hand of poker. Now, what I tell people all the time, all the young guys I coach and the older guys I coach, do you know how hard it is to take risk when you're young? It's a fall from the couch to the floor. It's really not that hard.
I know.
I can't tell you how many dudes I meet and coach that are 40, 50 years old that wish they would have started investing earlier, wish they didn't have the bills they had, wish they didn't have it. But here's the rub. The house you got, the car you got, all those things like that, I get it. You've built that life. But you also need to turn around and look at the people next to you, the kids, the wife, and ask them if they really even want it.
Yeah.
Now, here's the scary thing. What you said earlier hits me right in my heart because I've seen it with my coaching clients. The amount of women, and I'm not just using them as an example because I coach men, a lot of men, the amount of wives that don't support their husbands when they start getting better, or like, no, we need to have this life because of this status symbol. I could tell you because I've heard it verbatim out of their mouths. Scares me because then you're hamstrung and you can't operate freely, and you have to, well, what does this mean? Somebody said something to me. So this woman I met, she's one of the most successful real estate investors in California. And she was about to lose her whole family and her husband, like straight up. And so she sold every business she had. And for 4 years, she just was a mom. And she said, it wasn't the money that I was giving up. It was the social status in the community that was driving it. And when she said that to me, I realized that 90% of that for people is what it says to them, what the car, the house, everything says to them.
Yeah. I'll talk to it. I mean, well, first of all, I'm fortunate to have, my wife and my kids, my 7-year-old being like, we need 2 floors in this house. And what's going on? Where's my 5th bathroom? Because we had 5.5 bathrooms in a house in Jersey, and so that, like, my son is like, Dad, this is great. I mean, I live in a 1,700 square foot house right now that I rent. Right. Mm-hmm. And so I didn't want to buy anything a couple of years ago when I moved out here, and, dumbass me, everything's gone up, 40% since I moved. And my wife could care less where we live for the most part. We need, we have nice things inside of our house, but if you look at our house, you go, it's okay. Mm-hmm. So my family's great. Personally, right? I was a leader in my community. I was an influencer in my community. I was the golf chairman at my golf club. I was on the board of trustees at my golf club. Youngest guy ever to be on the board of my golf club. I was sort of the leader in my circle of high school friends. I had probably one of the best jobs of most of my childhood friends. And so, I had influence when I came out here. I was just another guy, now I think I'm developing that amongst the community of men, that are in this neighborhood now. But I didn't have that stat. I didn't have a place to go. Like when I would show up to my club, they would start pouring my vodka with the club soda and the splash of orange juice before I even got out of the car. They'd see my car pulling up, I was the, chairman. Hey, chairman. Hey, like everyone treated me like it didn't smell when I took a shit, and so now I don't like what I miss about that is just the feeling of being loved and like a little doted on and like just having a place to go to where you feel super important. The ego part of it didn't necessarily mess with me, but like I really did, I'm not making the kind of money that I used to make. I have a very successful business that's 2 years old, but it's 2 years old versus a 20-year career and a pay scale that's way higher than most other places in the world, most other occupations in the world. And so I comp myself to a 20-year career trader, Brian. And as successful as my business is going to be over the next several years, it's going to continue to grow. It's still not going to get to that level, And so it's hard. It's hard judging yourself against like previous versions of yourself, because it's not, for me, it's not comparable. And so I can see both sides of that, where I have a family that doesn't necessarily care. They just want me around. Like my kids are way happier. My relationship with my daughter is on a different planet than it used to be. Because I'm around, because we spend quality time together, because like she sees me doing the things that a solid man, a solid father, a solid husband does.
I think it all boils down to the identity piece. And the number one thing that I see is like, I have lots of things going on, business wise, but my overall arching theme, our focus, it has nothing to do with any numbers set in any of the businesses. It is to support, identify, and impact the people that are partnered with me in that business. And then vice versa, on the back of that, our clients. And at the end of the day, I say to myself on a constant basis, like, who can you impact today? If you do one today, then you're good. And like, that's hard because like, I also think that we can be destroyed by our own vision too. Like if I were to really have a conversation with people about the vision that I have for my company, like 99% of them would say, oh, it's too big. You can't do that. But like, I don't need them to validate it. Now, here's the rub, is that I am having to also listen to people say like, oh, you're focused on too much. Like you're trying to do too much. And it's like, I have to like combat that. But like, if it makes me happy, like, why would you be upset about that? I'm not saying that I have it all figured out, but it gives me energy. And so if it gives me energy, then who gives a fuck what it looks like? Like, like there's also people out there like Elon Musk and Naval that have like millions of companies. And guess what? Everybody told them they were crazy too. So it's like, but like, that's the thing is like, especially for fucking athletes, right? Like my coaching group leader was like high up in Muay Thai. And he got his leg broken in half. And he said that it took him 3 years. He said he did a TED talk about it. He was like, I was a mean motherfucker to be around because my fighting, my training made me who I was. And he goes, I had to realize that there was a bigger purpose out there for me.
Yeah. I mean, I've placed a ton of identity around, me being an athlete. I placed a ton of identity around me being, a Wall Street guy, having a particular income, having a certain status at a particular club. And I don't have many of those things anymore. So it's been a challenge. It's been interesting to see, some days I'm like, let's go it doesn't matter. I'm going to recreate all of it in a different form. And I'm just as happy. And I have all these other amazing things in my life. And other times, I really struggle because I feel like I did just something real stupid. I had a great thing going, and again, going back to my friends, they'll be like, I can't believe you did this. Like you're a moron, but then, testament to what we've been talking about, jokingly, of course, they'll say that. And then a minute or two later, they'll go, this is the worst job ever. Like this lifestyle sucks. Like I wish I was you. I wish I was you. I wish I was them because I still want aspects of their life they want to be me because they've seen me do something that they desire to do.
So the concept is as simple as this, right? I think one of the basically like where we're at in this world with me and business views is like, I just create what people do shitty jobs at. That's like my role now. It's like that I hear from like 7 different people, like we can't find somebody, then I'm just going to go create that company. And so I'll use construction workers because that's what I know. All right. I look at the breakup and kind of makeup of a construction company. I'm like, these guys feel like shit. They eat like shit. They work their asses off. Their boss doesn't give a shit. So my question to you is, what if you actually had a construction company where you're working 4 days a week and you actually got massages for everybody and you showed up when you said you were going to show up and you did the job, right? And so I wonder if there's a way to use your expertise / your coaching for you to create a trading company that actually like gives a fuck about the people that work there. And like, maybe it's a revolution, right? Like maybe you're the anti, and like you said, first you're going to get ridiculed. Then you're going to recruit like a fucking motherfucker because everybody's happy as shit. Right. And so that's the way I look at stuff is like, maybe it doesn't show up just like that, but there's something there where I think what I like about the world that we're moving into, and this is actually the same question I asked Angelo because he lived in Chicago. Is there any part of value that misses kind of that fucking step on your throat mentality that like New Jersey, like because West Coast is like, it's soft, baby. It's very like soft as Charmin, like it, which is great too on some level, but there is something I miss about that hustle and bustle.
I miss the hustle. I miss the grind. I miss the competitiveness. Again, like I said, I miss like you were in a room of 30 alpha people, mostly males, but the females were the same. The females would not hold back either. And, we were not even arm's length because I got long arms to the next guy. It was traditional trading desk and then rows, right? So you were face to face with somebody, shoulder to shoulder with somebody. And there were just football field sizes, depending on the size of the firm that you worked for. And so you were within earshot of 50 people on the phone, talking on the phone all day, saying something, having a conversation. And the willing and readiness of 47 of those 50 to jump up on their desk and proverbially jump off the top rope on top of you when you said something stupid, incorrect, ignorant, whatever, was very high. And that was like, I loved it. I love that environment. I loved like being in that. It wasn't like, it wasn't cutthroat. It was just high pressure, high performance. Everyone showed up and decided like, okay, we're going to get after it for 10 hours today or 12 hours today. And so I miss like that part of it. I don't miss everyone walking around New York City with their head down, unwilling to look you in the eye. Like it is nice. Yeah. I mean, I live in LA, but I'm in a suburb of LA that feels a little bit more like San Clemente where you were recently. And so people are kind, people talk to each other. I even joke like when we first moved here 2 years ago, I'm like, you're too nice. What's going on? Let me show me your hands. Did you pick my pocket? Like, you got my wallet on you? So like people are very, very nice and kind here, and it's very, very much a family environment. And so that's amazing. But yeah, in general, people are a little soft out here. Like we said before, I think before we turn on record, dude, like it's going to rain here tomorrow. And people have been talking about it for 4 days.
The funniest thing I ever heard in my life, we had an oyster shucker at the restaurant I worked at in Austin, who was from New York. Real hardcore motherfucker, dude. But like he was down in Austin, and I was talking to a guest, and he could overhear everything. And the guest, I just met the guest, and she invited me to her lake house, like out in Lake Travis, like for the weekend, like to stay. Like really rich motherfucker. Like she was like, yeah, you come stay with your wife, no big deal. And they left, and he looked at me and he goes, what the fuck just happened? He goes, did that person that you just met for 30 minutes invite you to stay in their home? She goes, where the fuck? He goes, where the fuck am I? And I was like, bro, that's just Texas, man. I don't know what to tell you. But no, there is some part of me, and it's down there. And I'd be lying if I said it doesn't peek its head up when I'm not saying I do it all the time, but when I post my really early workout mornings, I'm just letting everybody know that you don't stand a chance. I'm just letting you know that there's no chance you're going to catch me sleeping. There's no chance you're going to catch me slipping because my dedication is absolute. My consistency is absolute. And if I, as a coach, don't exude that, well, then what's the fucking point of even listening to me?
Yeah.
And so I've almost created my own kind of social accountability that my clients are seeking from me. Yeah. And so do you find that with your guys? Like, you got to be up there and you got to be preaching, practicing what you preach every day.
Yeah. I mean, I would say I lead from the front. I mean, I don't love that phrase, but I do. I mean, like I said before, I show up. I mean, there's not, and I see you show up. You might be the only one who shows up just a little bit earlier than I do. But you're not, I was never a overly vocal leader. So captain of my high school and college teams. Eventually, I also was the rookie on the team, right? The freshman. So I understand all the roles up the chain. Mm-hmm. I was the assistant on the desk. I was the junior guy on the desk. I had just got my first trading book, all the way up to being a very senior guy and a leader on the desk. And no point when I was a leader, other than these small moments where you had to read the room, read the individual, know when to quote unquote get in somebody's ass. I was not this verbal rah, let's go, we're going to charge today. I showed up and I did the work. And everyone around me saw me do that. And so like you are doing, like I do now with my clients, I set a standard. And I expect you, if you want to be around me, to raise to my standard. I am not going to lower myself to your standard anymore. I used to do that a lot. I did that a lot when I first started to transform. I was new health and wellness Brian, and I was old Brian. And so I would take these little moments, which I can't say I didn't enjoy most of the time, but I would take these moments where I would go dilute my standards. I would go lower my standards to everybody else's. And over time, again, wearing people down and then just realizing, what am I doing? Like, this is mine. This is my life. I say to guys all the time, like, nobody else has to live in your body. No one else has to live in your marriage. Some of my guys most of my guys, their time, everyone's time is very valuable, but like they have a lot of people pulling at them. They might run a desk. They might be a CEO. And so needed to get a couple drinks with me. Okay, I get it. But so-and-so didn't have your wife yell at you for not coming home early enough last night from dinner. So you have to think about these things. Like, they're renting your time. And so they're renting your body. Like, no one has to live in your body. If you get joint pain, from excess inflammation and you're drinking needlessly on a Tuesday night, like, they don't have to live with your body on Wednesday morning. And so, like, really think about, like, are you willing to have, what standard do you have, and what are you willing to do when other people are around that don't have your standards? Are you going to throw your standards away and go down to theirs? I'm not willing to do that anymore. It takes time. It's not something for, I think, a lot of people where it's like this switch that flips. I think overall you tend to sort of have it gravitate, higher and higher. But, for me, I want people to see what I do. My clients, I can't tell you how many times my clients like, I saw you do that thing or talk about the thing, so I got it. I'm like, well, you don't, this is my life and my, like, that might not be appropriate for you. Like, I love your enthusiasm, but it might not be something that's the right move for you right now. So I realized that, I have 2 kids. There are no greater sources of a mirror than your kids. So they're always watching you. They're always absorbing. I have clients, and, I know that people pay attention to the stuff that I post or do or talk about. And, if you have a podcast, you have an email list, you post on social media, like, if you're not going to live the life when you're not posting it, like, you're a fraud. And so that I refuse to do that.
And the ones that are watching aren't even saying anything too either. Like, that's the scary thing. And at the end of the day, if you're living, like, there's no difference when you meet me in person. Like, you're living your brand. Like, that's it. And
I heard you talk to Mike about that. Yeah. And I DeSanti.
Yeah.
And
it's the greatest compliment I ever got.
I couldn't agree more. It's a great compliment. Yeah. When somebody watches you for a while, knows of you, hears of you, then spends time with you, and is like, yeah, this is you. I mean, that's, to me, that's what I'm trying to do with my life.
Yeah. And I mean, at the end of the day, it's like, like a lot of people would not be okay. Like that's the thing. It's like, I think you can take pieces from other people, but I think ultimately it has to be you. Like, and Naval's, my favorite quote with Naval is like, there is no competition if you are authentically you. Like, because nobody can be you. So like at the end of the day, like figure out what works for you. And if that's a big house, then have the big house. If that's a small house, have the small house. It doesn't really matter. And I think that's super important. So if people want to follow your podcast, they want to find out what you got going on, how would they do that?
Yeah. So my brand is the Success Lift. It's called the Success Lift Podcast, which I'm excited to have you on shortly. I'm active on Instagram and LinkedIn under my name, Brian Pannuzzo, Pannuzzo. And you can find out more about me by going to thesuccesslift.com.
Wonderful. Guys, if you like this episode, send it out to your friends, share it with somebody that'll get some value from it. We'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening to Construct Your Life with Austin Linney. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to rate, review, subscribe, and pay it forward by sharing with a friend. Most importantly, take this opportunity to start constructing your life by taking immediate action on what you learned. For show notes, resources, and more information on one-on-one coaching with Austin, visit constructyourlifepodcast.com.